What's up, YouTube? Your boy back once again with another sport topic, and today we're going to talk some basketball, NBA basketball. Now, since the NBA draft is right around the corner, let's talk about some prospects. Let's break some down. So I'm going to bring some new to y'all, and I like to call the ceiling and the floor. I'm going to bring up a prospect. I'm going to talk about their potential ceiling, which means the heights of if they reach all their potential, what they possibly can be. And I'm gonna talk about the floor, which means basically what they end up couldn't be if they don't hit everything, the lowest level of their NBA skills and talents. And the player I want to bring up today, I want to talk about is James Bouknight, shooting guard out of UConn. James Bouknight is 5'6", 190 pounds. He averaged 18.7 points per game. He averaged 5.7 rebounds, 1.8 assists, 1.1 steals, and 2.8 turnovers off of 44.7% shooting from the field, 29.3% from three, and he's a 77.8 free throw shooter. First thing when you watch this tape that just jumps out, the boy gets buckets. He's an absolute scorer, all three levels. He can shoot. He gets to the rim. He's very athletic. He finishes at the rim. He's a three level scorer on all phases. Like I say, he's very athletic, very smooth, and the guy really, in my personal opinion, has star qualities. And what I mean by that is, I think he can be a future league leader. He could be a scoring champion. He could be a future scoring champion. I think that's the type of guy he could be. I think he's a guy who definitely he's going to get buckets. Like, he's just one of those guys, you know, night in, night out, he's going to get buckets. Like, you're not going to deny him. He going to get his. And I can see him probably going around, like, the highest is probably 7 with Golden State. And then the funny thing is also the lowest I think he could probably go is 14 with Golden State. So between those two Golden State picks is probably where he's going to end up falling. I could definitely see somebody like Golden State getting him, and he's going to be a guy who I think is probably my personal opinion, a guy who benefits from being on a bad team where he get to be the primary scorer. Like, I don't think he'll actually benefit from being in a situation like if he did get taken by Golden State, because he won't be the number 1, the number 2, or the number 3 option in Golden State. I think he needs to be somewhere that obviously he's not going to be number 1 option right off the bat, wherever team he goes, because he's not. It ain't like he's the first, second, or third pick in the draft, but he might grow into that role later on his rookie year, and potentially more than likely his second year, a guy who could be either the number 1 or the number 2 scorer on said team. I think that's the situation that benefits him the most. His cons is shooting, turnovers. Like I said, he averaged 2.8 turnovers a game. That's a lot of turnovers. Of only getting one assist a game, so like he's turned over the ball twice as much as he's able to make plays. He's really not a playmaker. He gets a little bit of tunnel vision, and his shooting is inconsistent. He can shoot, but it's not consistent. Now, like I said, he's a scorer. He can score on all 3 levels. He could definitely score, but I don't really. But like I said, his shooting, like sometimes it kind of like comes and goes a little bit. But I said, when you watch the tape, you can't be nothing but impressed, even with those cons. And to be honest, I think his floor is probably just a role player off the bench who can go and get buckets. You know, one of those guys who, in the middle of the season, like I'll just say in an 82-game season, on a Wednesday night, game 88. A game 48 of the season, where like you just playing just a regular team. It's a back-to-back, so your stars ain't playing, stuff like that. He can go out there and possibly give you a 25 to 35 piece, and you be like, oh man, he could put up the point. He could put up the points, but he's not gonna give you that on a consistent basis. I think that's his floor. A guy on the bench who is come out there, not kind of like a 6-man, and go out there and get you buckets here and there, and then one of those weird nights when everybody's out playing, and like there's a back-to-back, your stars ain't playing, and he gets to start that game. He goes out there and puts up a 35 piece, and you like, oh man, Bouknight out there getting buckets. But his ceiling is to be the number 1 scorer on the team and end up being the NBA scoring champion. I can see him getting all-stars, being first, because he is a scorer. That is what he is. He is a scorer. And he has all the tools to be a league leader in scoring. But can he reach those tools? Now I think some of that has to do with the situation. Like I said, I really don't. I think he'll go from like either pick 7 with Golden State and pick 14 with Golden State, because I think if he's there, if Golden State passes on him at 7, if he's still there at 14, he's not. If he's still there in 14, he's not getting past Golden State. They're going to take him again because Golden State likes scoring. I don't think he's going to fall that far. I think he'll probably go somewhere around, like I said, I think he'll go somewhere between 7 and possibly 9. I'm a Magic fan, so I definitely would take a hard look at him at 8, with the 8th pick in the draft. Because, like I said, he's a guy who gets buckets. That's something my team needs, obviously, is to get buckets. And I think he's a guy who definitely can score. Like, he is a scorer. And he has the potential, if he hits all his check marks, to be a scoring champion, to lead the league in scoring. And I definitely see that in him. He has that star potential to do that. But on the flip side, because of the inconsistency shooting, the turnovers, so you really can't trust him handling the ball. He has he's like tunnel vision because of that. Because of those things really ugly, if he's constantly turning over the ball and he's constantly and the shot's not falling, then you really can't depend on him to be a number 1, number 2, or number 3 guy. And he's going to be relative to the bench, where his damage will be less effective because he won't be getting the ball that much. He won't be handling the ball that much because he turns the ball over way too much. In this situation, he turns the ball way too much more than he actually makes plays. He's really not a playmaker. So, but that scoring opportunity from him, like if he hits all his marks, because he has defensive potential. He does have potential to get better at shooting because he's better from the field. But it's his 3-point shot that was the one that wasn't falling. Was like 29%, if I'm not mistaken. 29.3% shooting from 3. That's not good, especially in today's NBA. If you want to be a star shooting guard in today's NBA, you gotta shoot better than 29% from the 3. Sorry, you gotta shoot better than 77.8% from the free throw line. Especially a guy like him who gets to the rack, who gets to the line because he's so athletic. And that's the thing, he's so athletic, and he can score on all 3 levels. But he needs to step up his free throw percentage. He needs to be shooting somewhere in the mid to high 80s. He doesn't need to be shooting 77% and to be a shooting guard. He's not a forward or a center. So that's something that he definitely has to clean up. And I think he gets into the right situation he possibly can. I do think that possibly Steph and Clay could possibly help him as far as getting his shooting. But from the game experience, it benefits him more to be one team that he could be. Maybe not it's definitely not in the beginning of year 1, but in the back half of year 1 and definitely going to year 2 that he is a 1, 2, or 3 scoring option, so he can get those reps in, so he can reach his potential more. Because if he's a guy who goes in the Golden State and just be on the bench for a while, because you got Steph and you got Clay, and they're going to be your number 1 and 2 option, and you got Wiseman, you got Kelly Oubre. It's going to be hard for him to get buckets, is what I'm saying. And it's going to be hard for him to get buckets and hard for him to continue to grow. And like he might stay stagnant and end up being a trade piece somewhere down the line. Because those are the type of guys who end up being trade pieces down the line. And like how Zach LaVine or James Harden, Tracy McGrady, when he left Toronto, he wasn't traded. But these guys are guys who were in situations like, Zach LaVine was in Minnesota. James Harden, we knew James Harden was in Oklahoma City. Tracy McGrady come off the bench in Toronto. When Tracy comes to Orlando, he's a multi-time scoring champion. James Harden goes to Houston, he's the MVP. We see Zach LaVine. Now Zach LaVine becomes an all-star, averaging 25 points a game. These are guys who were in other situations on other teams, kind of held back because they played bench roles, because they weren't sought to be the guy. Even though James Harden was the third pick in the draft, I'm not for sure exactly what Zach LaVine was. And I could see James Bouknight being a Zach LaVine type. I could definitely see him being a Zach LaVine type of guy who goes out there and gets buckets. I definitely see he has the potential to be a scoring champion. Will he reach that potential, though? Will he be put in a situation where he can reach that potential? Or will his floor, like I said, his floor is not a bad floor, but that I think because of his floor, that's the reason why he's not going top 5, top 6. That's why he's going to go no higher than 7, and probably no. And then ceiling, his ceiling is so high. That's why he won't fall past 14. So that's if y'all want anybody else y'all want me to do a single or ceiling or floor a video on, comment. Let me know who y'all want me to do my next video on. Like, share, subscribe, comment, click that button to get more videos. I holla.